we're going to go live with you every morning in our morning huddle so you can actually hear what we're building and see what we're building and um, stay up to date. Because what we found is we were talking about all these incredible projects we were working on, the things that we're learning. We spend like 30 minutes every morning catching up with this stuff, and then you never hear about them. So this is going to be our start of us truly building in public. So you get every day, you'll get our morning huddle. So welcome, Ashley, David. Ashley's not super excited about this morning, and but we're going to do it for you. So um, we had a big
You just went
weekend.
right live, eh?
Yeah.
I was thinking we were recording, and then I see you
No,
live, and I
no,
see a
just
YouTube
right
symbol
live.
up there.
Yeah, it's it's a new
Live.
way of doing it, Ashley. We're just gonna
Who gave
put
you
it
this
all out
idea?
there, and the founders can come and enjoy it.
Who gave you this idea? Who do I have to blame for this?
I figured it out this weekend. I went live twice as I
Uh,
was maniacally building for 14 to 16 hours a day.
So
And
what you meant to say was, Ashley, you gave me this idea last week, and then I only have myself to blame because you ran with
oh,
it.
you did actually give me this idea. I just took it.
I only have myself to blame for sitting here live on YouTube Monday morning with
Just
no
keep
heads
drinking
up.
the coffee. It'll come
I got it.
around.
Okay, cool. All right.
You'll get it.
So tell me how you got the bags under your eyes.
Well, I started building out on when did I start? I started Thursday, I think. I started building out the calendar and task integrations and tool calling in Lynda. So we wanted that to be able to obviously act like an EA and book your meetings and set up tasks and all that. And so it took me till I think I went live and had it running and booking on Saturday morning when I sent you that those things, and then um,
3
Corey
beautiful
from
meeting
Retreats.
invites.
What was that?
You sent me 3 beautiful meeting invites
Yes, in a row,
in a row.
um, which is very cool actually to be able to do, and we'll show you that tomorrow when I have everything set up. We'll walk you through some of the things that we actually built. But Corey was here from Retreats and Venues. He was here for the weekend, and I have been trying to teach him or talk him into understanding how we're doing the development with the agents and project requirements and technical requirement documents and how I step them out with Jura. And so everyone always is a little skeptical about that you can actually do this. And I shouldn't, they're very skeptical. Corey wasn't as skeptical, but I wanted to prove it to him. So we had a Slack integration build you and I have been talking about for a while that we wanted to actually have Lynda fully available in Slack. So think like right now you chat with Lynda in our interface. We're like, well, why would you want to leave? Um, why would you want to leave the software where you talk to all the rest of your team? Why talk to Lynda there? So I was like, okay, we know that we want to build this. I'm going to just show Corey how fast you can do this. And so I think it was like 2:00 on Sunday. No, Saturday. 2:00 on Saturday. I started scoping it out. So building out like the product requirement, technical requirement documents. I did some deep researches into like different ways of building it to make sure that we did it right. When you're building an MCP server, we could have built it so that Slack was like a resource for us, but we didn't. What we wanted is we just wanted to use the interface of Slack connected into our MCP server system. And so once I kind of like got through making sure I had that correct in my head, Then I built out the product requirement documents and technical requirement documents and the Jira cards. So think like, for anyone that doesn't know what a Jira card, it's like what each of the steps in the development process need to be. And so title, description, tasks, accepted metrics, and that type of stuff. And so once all those are built out, it took me probably from 2:00 till about 7:30 to get the whole plan put together and solidified in Cursor and in ChatGPT. And then I went to work, and I had the whole thing built out by about noon on Sunday, which is pretty spectacular if you think about it. So that's full APIs, that's responsive. So the same way, like in our chat, where it streams the response and you can see tool calling and you can see all that activity. So it's set up to do the same thing, fully secured, and database migration over to be able to, have your tokens and stuff and security and did it in I'll say 12 hours of work, because I sure as heck I went to bed at like 11 on Saturday night. And so that was my weekend. And so you woke up to calendars, tasks, and Slack integrations in 3 days.
Which I'm beyond excited for. Beyond. I guess we should probably tell people why it's important. Well, for us, you and I, and through research, we know how important it is to have Lynda in Slack. 90% of our users are in Slack easily. And context switching, when you could be in a meeting just like this. We're in our daily sync every day, and we talk about who we have to follow up with, what clients we want to get into meetings. And sometimes we go, okay, I'm going to reach out to Dave. Here, wait 1 sec. Let me go get my email open. Let me draft the email, send the email. Okay, find our window again, or I have multiple screens. But at the same time, now I can just hit, I'm going to mute myself, David. Boom. Go. I have Slack always open. Get into the Lynda channel. Hey, Lynda, can you reach out to Dave? David and I want to chat with him because we have V1 coming of calendar and tasks, and we know it was a priority. Because he was using multiple tools to handle tasks. Can you tee up an email that I can send out to him right now?
Mm-hmm.
Teed up. Okay, that looks good. Just change this one thing. Yeah, send it. Done. I don't even have to move windows. I have Slack always open. It's the one window that I always have open. I don't know. Same?
Oh yeah, I always have it open. I think that's the coolest part about, like, I'll say Lynda, but the technology that we're working with right now too is that you can put it where it needs to be. You know what I mean? And it has that same functionality as a human being, where it's like, okay, it's in Slack, it's here, and you're not trying to force people to learn new things and be in new places. And if you're, which everybody does. So when I say this, there's a little bit of that baked into it. But if you can have this conversation like you and I are having, you can interface and get Lynda to do everything that you want it to do without having to go like in HubSpot and go through the 10,000 pages to find the right page with the right thing to do the thing. Now you're just like, hey, do this for me, and it does it for you. So that's super cool.
And also, if you're like me, who reads over and corrects every email 5 times before I hit send, which is a total time waste. That's like 5 minutes to send one email. Instead, this is what I want to say. You know who I am. You're seeing the tone that I'm using talking to you. Or I could even say, just make it short and sweet today, like very bullet pointed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to think. She tees it up. And then I go, oh, change this one thing. I don't like it. Or it's perfect. Send it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like less than a minute. to get an email rolled out.
Yeah. I'll say the one thing that I'm really excited about is when I run and I have an idea, which is like pretty much my run. I always pull out my phone and I have like my personal channel in Slack, and I send myself I just record a quick message there for myself. So I have it. That's like how I came up with Archeo, the idea for it. And then I ran and I put it in Slack. So that behavior is like ingrained in what I do. So I'm really excited because one of the first things that I did typing into Lynda was, hey, can you create a task to remind me to do this tomorrow? And so I'm excited because I'm going to be able to do voice notes to Lynda in my Slack channel and say, hey, just thinking about the way that we're building this architecture or these agents, can you set up a task for me tomorrow to review through this new infrastructure style or this new way of doing it, or take the way that Cursor's running tool prompting and look at how we can implement that into our tool calling and orchestrator so that we can have a better outcome for the user, right? And all of a sudden, then Lynda just puts it on my calendar, and then the next day, instead of it going into this channel that I never go back in to look at, it's in my calendar, and I've got something that I can actually go back and do. So such a cool functionality to be able to do. Oh, also, I wanted to tell you something. When Corey and I were chatting yesterday, one of the things that I was showing him, I showed him how to actually put together from start to finish a project using AI. And so when I was, that was the whole point of the Slack build, because I wanted to show him what you could do and how you actually do it. So he sat here and watched. And what came out of it was something that I think will be very helpful for all of the developer teams that kind of follow us along in Lynda. And I wanted to tell you about it. I built out a complete playbook on how to do it from start to finish, so that in the end, what you're doing is like you have all your documents, everything's planned, you do the research, it's ready, and then it's just literally copy paste take the, maybe you have 10 Jira cards that you have in your build, you take those, you put them into ChatGPT that's connected to your system, and then you just copy each one of those prompts, boom, 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 into Cursor, and it'll do a card. Like yesterday I had like 7 tasks in the agentic flow, just going boom, 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 boom. And it was wild, like a 10 Jira card build, which would be like 4 weeks of building. And it's like popping one card off in like 30 minutes with like review and everything. And so anyways, I built the playbook for that. So exactly step by step on how you do it. So that will be a big one, I think, for us to be able to give away and help other founders, other software companies, so they can start using this tool and using these tools and implement these things into their development processes, because man, does it make it fast. Like we pretty much in 3 days with one person, and I know I have bags under my eyes. So I was definitely awake a little bit more, but one person did probably two and a half months worth of work. Pushed live and tested.
So you should put some really, really massive effort into that one LinkedIn post. That's really beautifully outlined and why all those steps matter and are important. I'm going to send you an example of a post I saw this morning. It was long, but it was on something around sales tools. And it literally, like, from the layout of the blue one icon and just step one, like it was easy to read, but you knew you were getting value out of it. It was a whole system and process completely laid out involving sales tools and how.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you could take that and mimic it for exactly what you're saying and teach people exactly how to do it, but also offer the resource.
Very cool. Send it over to me because I think I definitely want to get these things out to people. Like it's so powerful, and I think what's interesting to me, Ashley, is so many of my friends are software founders. They're running teams, and everybody says they're using AI, right, to write code, and then I'm like, well, why did that project take 2.5 weeks to build? And then you find out what they're doing is they're using it for autocomplete, right? They're not really using agentic development yet. I showed um, Viv how to do it as well, and so I'm gonna send over this document to him. But he's like, yeah, well, I can prompt it to write code for me through the cursor agents, but he said my team can't, and I'm like, I suggested to him that instead of hiring more developers, that he hire like really strong product managers that understand architecture, because they can actually, their brains are already set up. If you've managed a development team, you'll be really good at this because you understand how to build Jira cards and project documents and all of these things, and then manage people to build them out. Well, that's what you're really using these agents for, is to actually build out the different pieces, right? Like so when I set it up, make this as simple enough that a junior developer can follow it.
Right.
And so now it's just super detailed, and I've read through the whole plan, and I know the plan is on point because I understand my code base and I understand all the functions and architecture. And so when it starts building, it's actually there's no drift in it. There's no ability for it to drift because it's really specific. Do this for me this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, boom. So that's going to be interesting for people to kind of like wrap their heads around and start to change the way that they think about creating code and creating these things. Like that Slack build. So those two, the tasks and the calendar build, I think that was like 7,000 lines of code. And I guarantee you that the Slack build was probably, that one might have been bigger because a lot of that was like brand new. Like with tasks and calendar, we already had the Google, the Gmail OAuth already set up. So there was a lot of that stuff that was already pre-built, but Slack was from scratch. And so you had to build all of the security and all of the token management and the flows and everything else. So you pretty much built the whole front end chat that we have in Lynda's interface, that functionality again, so that it's secured, and able to like go off of the user's email in Slack and their information there. So it's pretty wild when you start to change the way that you think about it. I keep hearing this thing about like abundance mindset with using these agents. Like it goes so fast, I could go back and wipe that whole build and redo it again in a day. And so you don't really get precious about what you build, because it's like, did it work? Did they like it? No, kill it.
Right. So now we kick ourselves though a little bit, because last week it's ready to throw in the towel. I almost quit.
I thought you were gonna, to be honest.
We stopped doing some things that we knew we should. Anyway, looking back, whatever. But
why don't you share what you figured out last week that kind of like, I thought it was such a powerful, like, we came off of you were doing something in July, and we had a conversation about sales. Yeah. Right? Because what our goal was, just to be really clear with everybody, we want to put 100 people into Lynda over the next short period of time in our founders program because we're bootstrapped. We need to get revenue. And so we're doing that, but we kind of had gone into like trying to sell just the email sorting and stuff. And we thought that selling was a good thing to do. But as soon as we switched into trying to sell from what Ashley was doing before, and she'll tell you all about it, as soon as we switched into that, it just kind of went, ooh, and we stopped signing people up, which was really interesting. So what were you doing before, Ashley?
Well, we'll say creating content that sold the future. In a way, what we were building, an actual executive assistant that managed your email, your calendar, tasks. I mean, there's lots of other things, but we were talking about those things. And in a way of like, not that we had it, but we were building it. So it was good content in the form of like, I was okay with it going out because we also talked about, we both have this trauma around when we talk to customers and we get them all excited, they unearth pain and the current pain they're in and how it affects them, how it affects their team. We go really, really deep and understand that where they're currently living to design a solution that works, which is great. We've always done that. And then we get so excited and we have it all mapped out. This is when we're talking history now. And we say, hey, we're going to build it. And in previous startups, we just couldn't. For some reason, tons of different, like maybe we had another project going that instead of 3 weeks, it took 8 weeks. So things always got pushed or a new priority came up for just different reasons. I don't know. I have this, I'm going to call it trauma of telling a customer something is going to happen and then it doesn't. And so when we finally had Lynda working, doing two things, sorting your inbox and also drafting replies, we went, why aren't we selling this? It works. It's what competitors are doing out there. They're selling this. Why aren't we selling this? And so then we stopped talking about this thing we were building and the excitement behind it and how it was going to help us and in these stages. And instead we focused on, I'll be honest, this boring thing of sorting email and drafting replies. That's really unsexy versus some of the other stuff we were talking about. And then we went into trying to sell it. So trying to have KPIs and deliverables around getting revenue. And as both of us have, homes and costs and babies and more babies on the way and trips and significant others who live in other places, life's expensive. So we kind of unfortunately prioritized that for a bit, and it was an awakening last week when we said, what are we doing? And it also sucked the fun out of it. It was so not fun. Well, it became a lot less fun because the conversations were changing. The conversations, instead of being around, people tended to open up. They're like, I love what you're doing. Have you thought of doing this too? And usually I'd say, no, we haven't. Tell me more. Even if we had, it was awesome research. It was building a relationship. It was understanding our founders, our ICP more. And then we would bring them into our ecosystem, whether as like a customer, if they wanted to come early and they knew what early was, or if there's somebody like Molly, for example, who I hadn't chatted with in a month, but the moment I changed my content last week, she was like, hey, I really like what you're doing. I'm not ready. AI is something I'm still wrapping my head around. I've hired somebody into my business to help me with one system, which is kind of more my content creation, where my clients live and I create things for them. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable with, AI coming into my inbox today, but I know I'm going to be in the next month or two. and I love what you're doing. And so now I know that about her. That's amazing. I can talk to her. I can run ideas past her. It doesn't mean I'm going to try to sell her, but she knows exactly what we're doing. I know exactly where she's at, and I can bridge that for others as well. If we can get her across the line in a month or 2 months, like whatever her comfort level is, it doesn't matter. But that's how you would also take the next Molly.
Yeah.
And move them through, because she knows it's going to help her. She's drowning, she says, in email. She knows she needs help, but it's such a sacred place for her that she can't imagine bringing someone or something into it at this time. She just needs education. And then you do other cool things that happened to change my title, my headline in my LinkedIn. And part of my daily thing is like I go and I engage in LinkedIn minimum 30 minutes every day. It's like networking for me. I learn as well through people that I follow. And, I was talking about that sales post earlier. Over the weekend, I had 2 people reach out for connections with me who one had 50,000 followers and the other had over 100,000 followers, and saying, I love what you're doing. Tell me more. The moment I flipped my headline to be not around email and actually what we're building. Anyway, so it's like...
Can I tell you something? Do you know what the epiphany for me was, Ash? What the change that I saw in what we did was we went from talking about what we were doing to telling people how the product worked. And so from a sales motion, it's like, okay, well, these are the problems and this is the solution, right? It's that very like problem solution centric thing. And as soon as you switch to that, people are like, oh, I don't have that problem. That's not, you know what I mean? And they're already, because they've been sold to so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what really jumped out to me is when you were, I don't know it so much in my mind if it was the fact that the product was where it was at. I think it was the way we were talking about what we were doing fundamentally changed. We went from you talking about, oh, these are the products I'm working on, this is the thing, to, oh, this is my inbox and this is how Lynda's labeling, right? And I think that's such an interesting thing to realize, because I believe people want to know what you're doing. They don't want you to try and say, oh, like they want to be on the journey with you. Mm-hmm. So they don't like the nuances of the product is like, is it an EA? Okay, cool. I'll try it. It's not like, oh, well, it's going to do that. You know what I mean? It's like we get caught into the minutia of these things. And it's so interesting. And I think that the second that you came back out of like telling people, this is how it does the labels. And because I was making the same content, right? Like I was like, oh, look, in the morning, there's nothing in my inbox. And you're like, oh, but as soon as you start talking about like, it feels like you're talking about a future product, but I don't think it is. You're talking about a future product. I think the difference is you're talking about what you're doing, not selling it. And I think that's where, for me, when we were saying we switched into sales. So instead of attracting people to us because we were talking about the things that we're learning, and we're interacting in the ecosystem, and we're out there commenting and talking to other founders and talking to people on LinkedIn. As soon as we kind of like said, oh, well, we got to go do sales, and we started selling, everybody ran away. So here you had this beautiful lighthouse where everyone was like, oh my God, come look what they're doing. This is so cool. Let's hang out, to almost like everybody was running the other way because you were trying to sell them a product, and they're like, it's like that defense mechanism goes up. So I'm really excited to see how like changing it. And that's why you suggested like to build in public and for us to go live like this, because we have this conversation every day in our huddle. Like we discuss and try and figure out what we're doing. And so what you guys will also see, I think, as you go forward with these is a little, like, obviously Ashley and I are kind of like going through some of the things that we've been learning, but we have a very similar conversation to this every morning in our huddle as we try and understand what we're working on, understand the challenges we're facing, and we really want those to be shared with everyone so that you can join us on the journey and you can learn from the things that we're learning from.
That's a probably great place to end it today. 30-minute mark. You know?
Perfect. Well, everybody, thank you very much. That's our 30-minute meeting. We'll see you tomorrow. Have fun.
Bye.